I have a song called Exit Plan where it's about exiting a relationship that is hindering you from doing that. When you got someone stopping you from being great, you need to exit that.
Well, I like the lyric in the song, and I'm gonna misquote you, but basically, if you're not here for the long run, then leave now, or I'm gonna leave because this isn't worth my time. That's how I translated that line.
You actually translated it correctly because I always tell people, listen, the worst thing that I could do to you is leave your life. Because my whole intention here is to uplift you. It's not even about me. I hope you find success, but it's just not it's not meant to be with me.
And that's an adult way of approaching that subject. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, Chris Shrum. Thanks to everyone that is joining us for the first time, and welcome back to all those that have listened to every episode. For this episode, I will be talking with Mr. Admonish Music. All right, Mr. Admonish, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself and tell us what you're sipping on.
First and foremost, Chris, I want to say thank you for the opportunity and the interview. I go by the name of Derek Machado, a.k.a. Admonish Music. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a creative consultant. I'm also an artist and producer. My main objective is just to create art and release it to the world and allow people to, take it to their own perspective, but also evoke emotion and just create music, man.
All right. Well, what are you going to be sipping on during the show?
Okay, so today in my mug, I got some green tea with turmeric, ginger, honey, and lemon.
All right. Well, I am going to be sipping on a favorite of mine, Business Hippie from Tenfold Brewing here in Nashville. It's a 7.1% ABV West Coast IPA. And I really enjoy this beer because I live basically right down the street from these guys, so I get it fresh and I get it frequently. So overall, it's a good beer. Not really a West Coast IPA guy, but these guys do a really good job. So
okay,
I really enjoy it, and I keep it on hand. So thought I might crack one while I was talking to you. So
absolutely.
My first question is, what genre of music do you play?
So I play hip hop, R&B. When I say R&B, what I grew up on R&B music and soul music and slow jams. So my hip hop has those vibes in it. The Doja humming, the Philadelphia sound, some of that Detroit sound, some of that classic Memphis sound. I like the horns, so that's why I say I'm in the hip hop R&B vibe. I also got I usually put R&B artists on my hooks because it allows me to reach people who usually don't listen to my music, who think what I do is a little harder, but it allows me to reach out to others and it grow the audience from my core onward.
So is it a old school R&B, or is it maybe a classic R&B, or what?
So I would say more that classic old school. It's hip hop, but it's based. The foundation is that classic soulful R&B. So the music you would hear in what I do, if you just play an instrumental, it might take you back.
Okay.
It might take you backward.
Okay. Well, speaking of instruments, what instruments do you play?
So I'm what's called a sample-based producer. And sample-based obviously is, taking bits and pieces of other people's records. So what I've learned to do through the years is being a sample-based producer and studying certain musicians, or studying how how they come in and out of measures with their hits and all that. It forced me actually, I should say, to learn chords and learn, how to play keyboard. And I would say I'm a sampler player and a keyboard player because I don't sample anymore, but whatever I played as if I was listening to, for instance, Quincy Jones playing the piano. How would I take a Quincy Jones phrase and chop it up and then recreate it? So I'll actually play like it's being chopped up.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your bio, you describe yourself as an entrepreneur and a creative.
Yeah.
What makes you an entrepreneur?
So I've always been, and this clicked when I first started rapping. I've always been the type of artist who was like, okay, what's going on with the royalties? What's going on with the trademarks? So I would always get into the business side, even though early managers would tell me, look, just rap and don't worry about none of the business. I just innately I couldn't leave it alone. Through my career in music, I've learned marketing, I've learned graphic design, because I used to do my own album covers. I learned marketing because I wanted to understand how we are reaching the audience, why we're reaching a certain audience, why does it make sense to do certain things, like what is branding. So learning all of these tools to make my music successful led me into ventures where, for instance, I have a clothing line. It's called Deelorri. This is my hat. This is my hat. This is my shirt. On my shorts. Actually, my socks on my brand. So Deelorri is my nickname D, my wife's nickname Lori, as one word. The D and the L are always capital, and that stands for two people coming together as one to create something bigger than themselves. So everything that I've learned being an artist about marketing and branding and graphic design and all of that, I put into that business, and I also put into I also spread the information out, so I have a consulting business abroad. So I like to tell people I'm a creative consultant because I primarily attract creative clients.
Okay. Where can I get this merch if I wanted to get a hat or a shirt or a pair of socks?
So you can get it the two bases. Admonishmusic.com, because I design all of my Admonish Music merch, and Deelorri Apparel on Instagram. So my handles for an artist, everything is Admonish Music. Instagram, TikTok, I'm on YouTube, my actual website, admonishmusic.com, and everything, all my businesses are run under Deelorri Enterprises, which is why you'll see Deelorri everywhere.
Okay. What has it been like to work with some of the artists that you've worked with in the past? Jam Master Jay, G.O.D., Timex. What was it like to work with those?
The beauty of working with individuals such as themselves, first and foremost, I want to say rest in peace to Jam Master Jay. Each artist, I've worked with them. I worked with G.O.D. and Tom Max as a producer. They're rappers. Jam Master Jay, when I met Jam Master Jay, he actually heard me when I first started rapping, and we created a good friendship where he always wanted to work with me. We couldn't figure out how, and then of course he passed away early 2000s. But working with artists is a beautiful thing because no individual is the same. So you start to learn little idiosyncrasies, little characteristics, and then you start to take that as a producer, at least I do. I start to take that and put it into instruments, put it into sounds, and try to evoke these emotions from them. And then try to challenge them to reach outside the box of what they normally do and pushed them. So, and working with individual artists such as them taught me, you know what, you can't be comfortable in one sound. You can't be comfortable with one flow or one type of songs. So they've actually inspired me to expand my sound and expand my music to new audiences. But it's amazing working with artists like that.
Okay, you said expand your sound and you can't stay kind of locked in. Was that something easy for you to wrap your head around and say, I can do this and I should do this? Or was it, as far as a creative, was it something you kind of pushed against?
In the beginning, yes, I pushed against expanding my sound because I guess you could say because I was just so comfortable where I was. And that comfort zone was sampling and, you know, hard lyrics and not really showing my true self. So working with different artists, it allowed me to say, you know what, it's not a problem being vulnerable. It's actually a plus in my music. And everything doesn't have to be so, I guess you could say, hardcore as far as aggressive sounds. And so it's, you know, it allowed me to make softer melodies or work with softer instruments and then create something that I can honestly say is mine. Like my style of music, I call it re- um peaceful chaos. And you know, some people laugh at that and because it's an oxymoron, of course, but my melodies, I like to keep them soft and inviting. And then I make sure my drums are hard and aggressive. And that's just the essence of hip hop, hard, aggressive drums. So I try to mesh the two and make sure I expand them to new sounds, new people, and just continue growing as a musician. Also, it also pushed me to move away from sampling because now I can control the entire melodic bed of what I'm doing. If I sample the piano and it had too much bass and too much guitar and too much drums in it, and I wanted to, and it kind of made me make the sound the way I didn't want it to. Now I can make music and be like, I want to focus on this piano and I want it clean or I want it dirty. It allowed me to have more control of my sound.
Peaceful chaos. That's an interesting way to put your music. Um, do people accept that? At and
Now, here's the funny thing I've learned. In the beginning, I would really stress that. I would really stress what does everyone else think. What I've learned through the years and through my career is I first have to satisfy myself through the speakers. If I create something, like I'll write something and I'll make a beat, write some, record it, and I'll sit there. And if I'm not comfortable with how it sounds, if it sounds like it's not me, if it sounds like it's like I'm stretching and pretending, then it'll never be released. But when I release something, it's not really a matter of does everyone enjoy this? It's, you know what? I open myself up and I'll take the good with the bad. If someone don't like it, that's fine. That means that particular song wasn't for them. If someone loves it, I'm grateful. I take the appreciation and but I take that information either way for new creation. Why they didn't like this, why they did like this. I put all that information into my process.
so when you write your music, are you writing your music for you or are you writing it for your fans?
I write it for me. I write it for me. I used to write for the attention, for the fans. And what I've learned is it did the opposite. So if I was trying to write a quote unquote hit record, it wouldn't come across correctly. And actually, anybody who was my fan and supporting me would stop. When I started making music for me, it created a tighter bond with my support group, with my team, with you know, with the audience that has grown to like my music. I feel they're growing closer to me when they hear this music now, because now I'm being genuine to myself, and it's triggering certain thoughts and emotions in them saying, you know what, I relate to that. You know what, Ed? I have family who went through that, and I understand. So I think when I make music for me, it's actually growing my audience.
Some music that resonates with you. When you listen to that music, it feels more genuine.
Yes,
And the fan, the listener feels that, and it makes them enjoy the music that much more. That
I agree.
okay. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's 100% the perspective of when I create. And I'm a studious person, so I study everything. And every time I'm into something, I go in and I realize, you got people like Tupac and hip hop who so many people went to his sound, gravitated to his sound. And when I listened to his music, who's one of my favorite artists, it was because Tupac was being Tupac. He wasn't being this rapper or that rapper. He was basically pouring himself. People like Rakim and Nas. And what I realized is the individuals who actually empty themselves onto the music actually have long lasting careers. Tupac has been passed away for over 25 years, and his music still resonates, just like Marvin Gaye.
okay. So, in the world of hip hop, if an artist is vulnerable and speaking their truth,
Yes.
that carries more weight than an artist who is just out there trying to satisfy either a contract or a producer or a label.
Yeah, what I've seen is, well, first and foremost, um, the listener can feel if what you're saying is genuine. There's artists that there's two artists, right? Just say, and they do the same exact music. The beats could be the same, the content, the delivery, the way they attack a song and write their lyrics could be exactly the same. But the one who's actually telling their story, they'll always the audience gravitates to that because the details in delivery, the emotion in the delivery, the details in the writing, when an individual sits there and be like, yeah, that's real because I went through that, opposed to somebody else who's saying, yeah, everything you're saying is generic. And you can start to feel and hear it's not authentic. And it may work for a song or an album, but I've never seen anybody who isn't genuine who's done 3, 4, 5 albums and had the same attention.
So, in the hip hop world, longevity is based on truth, an artist's
Yes.
truth.
It's an artist's truth or even the truth of what they're experiencing outside of them. So, just to give a concept, you have guys who've gone through a lot in the streets, and but they may not have been involved with the streets. But since it's been around them and they see it and they see the details of it, when they tell the stories of it, you can hear the authenticity. When you got somebody who's never been in part of those environments and they're telling you what they've heard, they're actually regurgitating other songs, you can hear the difference. And the truth will, I mean, you can say the truth will set you free, but the truth resonates with your soul, and that is that's what people gravitate to. Yeah.
All right. I read that you want to expand your catalog into music, film, and video games. How do you
Yes.
plan on doing that?
So there's an aspect of the industry called sync licensing, where what you're actually doing is you're allowing your music to be licensed to video, and that's where the sync comes. So you're syncing the music with video. So that's an avenue that I've been not only exploring, but I guess you could say dabbling in, because I'm still in the process of learning the details and the intricacies of how that part of the industry works. But that is one of my goals. So, and funny thing, maybe music supervisors who reach out to me have realized this. So, Hit Therapy, the album I have out right now, it was actually written strategically, not only because I was actually going through what I was going through, and we can break down the album on that later. But I actually wrote the album with sync licensing in mind, because I didn't curse on the album. I said I think I got one curse word. Um, I didn't say names and I didn't say location, and all of that was intentional. Because, for instance, I was song "La La La" about my wife. If I said my wife's name and I said where we from, music supervisor would love the song, and they'll be like, "We can only use it for an actress or somebody in a movie who has that name." Or the movie would have to be set in that location, because I took the concept and I shrunk it. Since I had no name and since I had no location in it, it could represent anywhere and anyone. So it's more relatable. It's easier for a scene to relate to it. So I strategically wrote the album for sync licensing if anybody ever wanted to pick it up, and we can clear it easily.
Was it easy to write an album like that? Because to me, it seems like if you're going to keep names and locations out of your music, it would make it a little more difficult to write an album, a song, something like that, because it leaves it almost a little too general.
Mm. So it wasn't hard at all. I could say that. The reason being, when I write and I pay attention to syllables. So when I have a certain rhythm that I want to cadence, that I want to flow through this particular beat, and when I'm writing, I'm paying attention. So I can sit there and be like, "We," or a name. I could sit there and be like, "My neighborhood," or "the Bronx." And so that wasn't difficult. The thing about you making me think, because I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize the question you asked. I didn't even realize I did what I did, and I'm realizing it now. So it is kind of, so when you hear it's inner city, right? And I've always been an advocate saying, like somebody in Memphis is going through the same thing I went through when I was living in the Bronx. Somebody in Compton is going through the same thing that I went through when I was living in the Bronx. So the energy can still be the same. So it doesn't have to specifically be the Bronx, but the energy you're hearing, can everybody in the inner city will be like, "Oh, I've been through that." Somebody who lived in the suburbs, who grew up in the inner city, will be like, "Oh, I remember that." So it wasn't too hard. Um, it's something that you get through growth. Like, I'll tell you this: if that was the first album I've ever written, it would have probably been super difficult. But the way my mind works, it's always all right. I could wear my artist hat, take it off, and then put on my marketing hat. Does this song make sense for what I'm doing? And I've learned to do that at the same time.
Okay. Why did you choose Admonish to be the beginning of your, I'm not going to say stage name, but your creative name?
So, Admonish, two things about it. One, I had a crew. I had a crew of MCs, and at one point we were like, "What are we going to call ourselves?" So one of my friends and I were looking through the dictionary, and we literally started with A. And when we saw Admonish, and we saw the definition, to caution, to rebuke, we thought that was a great intro. So, because the concept is, how do you create questions in someone you're talking to? And what's Admonish? And that would always pop up, and we would tell them. So the guys broke up in the group. I used to be called D Double, and D Double, the way I spelled it was DEBUBLE. I always like to change things up instead of regular spellings. And what it is every time people would ask me to spell my name, I would always tell them DERRICK. And one day I was like, I'm gonna do D Double. So the group, when everybody's like, look, it's taking too much, we're not gonna, whatever reason they want to leave the group, I was the only one left. And I said, listen, I'm gonna take the name with me. I hold this homage to my crew and my friends that I started this way. But also, every time I touch a mic, every time I touch a pen, every time I touch a piece of equipment to make music, I'm cautioning people. This ain't gonna be what you think. It's gonna be what it should be. And what I mean by that is it's gonna be professional. It's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be the representation of me.
All right. I enjoy all different styles of music, different artists, different genres. Why should I listen to your music?
My music is gonna have influences of a lot of different music. So regardless if somebody listens to country, somebody listens to rock, somebody listens to hip hop, R&B, whatever music you listen to, I'm inspired by everything. So you may hear some hard rock riffs in my music. You may hear some classic hard rock drums in my music. You may hear soft melodies. The concepts I write about outside of just making the beat relate are relatable. I have songs where I'm just flexing my lyrical abilities, and the whole concept is double entendres, triple entendres, metaphors, and me playing with the English language. I have songs where I'm strictly speaking to my wife, and I have songs where I'm celebrating the struggles that we've overcome. So I don't. It's none of it's intentional. Saying, "Hey, I'm gonna write a song about this. I'm gonna write a song about that." Everything is genuine. The music takes me somewhere. A concept takes me somewhere. So you're never getting a fabricated or a prefabricated piece of music. You're always getting something that was spontaneous, that was pure energy, and pure love of what I'm doing. So people from all genres gonna like what I do because it's influenced by all genres.
What does music mean to you? And then what does your music mean to you?
Okay, music, what does it mean to me? Um, music is me. And what I mean by that is I've taken breaks away from music and I've done other things creatively, run businesses, consulting. It always comes back home to music. For instance, right now, when I started working on hip therapy, I literally came off an 8-year hiatus. For 8 years, I was just focusing on my clothing brand and establishing our family businesses. And I was retired. Like my wife was laughing at me every day. She'd hear me rapping to myself. She was like, "Oh, the retired rapper's coming out." And it's like I can't leave music alone. Now, why it means that much to me, my favorite Uncle Junior was incredible on the bongos and the congas. And I would just, whenever he would come over the house, wherever I was in my room, kitchen, I would come out and just stare at him playing these things in amazement. My sister, my oldest sister, Maggie, she's a great singer. So whenever a song would come on and she would sing, I wouldn't even listen to the song anymore. I was just listening to her. So music has become very emotional to me because some of my favorite people in the world have done it when I was young. Artists like Rakim or Quincy Jones or Michael Jackson, these people have established memories and played the soundtrack to my life. So I always felt when I started making music, I want to do that. I want to make music that touches people's lives. I want to make music that makes somebody smile. Like, oh, I remember meeting my wife like that, or I remember. I want to create those memories in people's minds, and music is everything.
All right, y'all. What's up? My name's Harkos. I edit everything around here at Two Beers of the Band podcast, but I wanted to hop in here real quick and let you know a little bit about my podcast called Music Making Sense Podcast. All links are available at mmcpod.com, of course. But what is Music Making Sense Podcast? Well, it's a podcast designed and dedicated specifically to music marketing, branding, and how to have success. Real success as an independent artist. I'm constantly dropping videos that dive deep into strategies and tips and tricks that you can use as an independent artist to help you grow your fan base in a real and sustainable way. So if you're an independent artist struggling with the marketing and trying to do everything DIY all at the same time and could use some help, come on by Music Making Sense Podcast. All links are available at mmcpod.com. And if you're not an independent artist, but you happen to know someone who is struggling with their music marketing, again, mmcpod.com for any and everything Music Making Sense Podcast. All right, I'm going to shut up now and get back to this great conversation.
So you took 8 years off from music.
Yeah.
As a creative, as a producer, how many songs did you, I'm going to say create? Because I'm sure there were bits and pieces and you may have kind of pushed back on them a little bit. But as a creative, especially 8 years, man, that stuff's got to come together on its own. So how many songs in 8 years did you
the
create?
8 years was the time I took away from music. I've been doing music for 30 years. So I'm going to say, to answer that, I'm in 2,500. I'm around there. And again, that's me as an artist, but I've done a ton where I'm just a producer. And I shouldn't say just a producer, because I would have artists come to me like, I like the beat. I wrote some lyrics. I don't know how to make it a song. And I've done, I used to own 3 studios at one point, and I would literally in the morning be in one studio till like 3:00 and then leave to another studio and be there till 11:00. And I would make, as an artist, I would write songs like 3 or 4 songs in like a 3-hour period. And so I would record and write, and yeah, man, 2,500 maybe.
It's a lot of music.
A lot.
That's a lot of music.
Yeah.
Who is out there listening to your music? Who are your fans?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. My fans are, I'll tell you what, and this is funny because I didn't realize this. I'm a Transformers fan, Star Wars, DC, Marvel. I grew up on all of that. I love all of that. I'm gonna say Star Wars fans are my fans, because strangely enough, I would say something weird, and like I'll be talking about music, and I out of nowhere I might be like, "Huh, that reminds me of C-3PO," and I would have fans DM me like, "You a Star Wars fan?" And I'm like, "Hold on, is this one of the things that we have in common?" I would also say people who are really in touch with themselves. So I've had people from all walks of life, genders, locations around the world who have reacted to different songs. Someone in Britain reacted to Specialist, if that Specialist is crazy. And someone reached out to me from Japan saying Jet Set is the song. So I wouldn't want to sit there and say an 80s hip hop fan or a 90s hip hop fan is my audience. I want to say people who are in touch with themselves, people who don't mind being vulnerable, and people who don't mind being emotional. Those would be my fans.
Well, you said someone would message you and ask about C-3PO. Do you interact with your fans on social media? Is that a daily occurrence, or how do you go about interacting with social media?
So I always reply. I have a really big, to me, the word fan separates the artist from the supporter, and I think a lot of people they like to put a barrier in between. I don't. So whether it's through my comments, whether it's through my DMs, or whether it's through my website, because on my website you can actually message me directly. So if you go to my website, there's actually an instant message window that pops up, and I got people that will hit me up, and I'm replying, and they'll say things like, "Oh man, I would love to speak to Admonish," and I'm like, "Yeah, you are." They're like, "What?" Like, no, I'm replying, So, um, I don't see myself as anything above or below another person. I just see myself as a professional in what I do, and the person I'm speaking to is a professional in what they do. They may be a graphic designer, they may be a truck driver, So, as an individual, I don't separate myself from people, but they could reach out to me on any platform. You will absolutely get me to reply. Sometimes it's delayed because I get a lot of messages, and I have to weed through the nonsense, and I have to weed through the actual, hey, I love your music, and or when you get that reply, when you get that prayer emoji saying thank you, saying I'm grateful, it's coming right from me.
What is the creative process behind a song for you? What does it start with a beat? Does it start with lyrics? Does it start with maybe a situation you've been through and that situation says, "Hey, I need you to make a song."
Mhm.
What is the creative process to make that song?
So the generic answer, the general answer is everything. But a majority of my music has come through conversations. So, and anyone, I could be speaking to my wife, and then as we're talking, she may say a word that has a certain emotion or a certain cadence to it. And she'll know that it triggered because my eyes jump. I'll be like, oh, I look up to my right, and what that does is I may be like, oh, she went, and it may take me to a flow. And I'm listen. I'm so grateful for my wife because my wife is a daughter of a musician. So when she sees my eyes do that, she'll tell me, go ahead, go ahead. And I'll grab my phone and I may do that cadence. That may lead to either a hook or lyrics, or it may lead to me going right to the piano and or drum pattern. But sometimes I may be outside walking and a truck may backfire and it created a rhythm. And I may be like, oh, that was boom, 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 that boom, boom, boom again. So there's no specific, but if there is a protocol, it's whatever trigger, everything follows. Like if it's a vocal rhythm, the hook, the lyrics go. And once that's done, I hear the beat in that. Sometimes if I hear a drum pattern and I create the beat, then I hear the lyrics and the hook from there. Yeah. It's a complicated process with me, but I've come to the point where a sound can trigger and I know how to take that and create from it. Where instead of being stagnant, like I don't know what to do with it. My phone is my most important piece of equipment though. Because I could be driving and then yeah. So my phone is my biggest piece of equipment.
So, as a creative, you're saying lean into something that jumps
Yes.
out at you. Instead of saying, I don't know what to do with this, that's a false flag, I don't, blah, blah, blah. When it jumps out there, take it and run with it and see what happens. Just kind of lean on your your creativeness, lean on that instead of turning away from it.
Absolutely, because it's great to have a template, right? It's great to be like, oh, this is the way I create songs. But do not stop something that comes from outside that template, because as a creative, you never know when it's gonna hit you, and you never know what's gonna hit you. So, even if you're just a songwriter, like one of my friends, I had to tell him one time, he's a songwriter. He doesn't make music. He doesn't make the music. And he was like, "Oh man, sometimes like I hear this piano line, but I'm not a musician." And I used to tell him, "Stop doing that." Because even though you don't touch the keys, save the piano line into your phone or whatever, or buy a device and record, because you can go to the piano player and say, play this, and then you come out of that with the lyrics. So wherever it hits, lean on that. Don't block, don't block the creativity, and do not wait on the creativity. Don't sit there and be like, I'm gonna remember that when I get home. Or anything can happen in between, make you forget, it could jump to the back, and please don't do that.
What do you want from your music?
What do I want? I want to touch people's lives, man. One of my biggest goals and dreams in life is to help people in whatever I do. My clothing brand is based on that. My music is based on that. The reason why I'm a creative consultant is because I want to tell people, stop doubting yourself. Take the risk. Take the chance. Like, you never know. So these are the things that I want out of my music, because I really just want to share my music, and I want to be able to create great memories for others. Now, of course, it's a business, and I would like for my music to be successful, and I do what I can to push it to be successful. But success for me means two things. Not only does it mean financial, but it also means, with this success, what am I doing for others, and how am I helping others, and how am I benefiting someone else?
So you said take the chance.
Yes.
Is that life advice, or is that music advice, or a combination of the two?
Absolutely a combination of the two. Nothing happens for you, or nothing happens to you.
It
It
happens
happens for you.
for you.
Yes. And you can only get that by doing. So I have this phrase that I tell people: whatever you want is there. So if you was to take numbered streets as an example, and you live on 14th Street or 15th Street, what you want is on First Street. But if you don't take the risk and take the chance and go through the process of going toward it, you'll never get there. So please don't just sit there. The risks in life and the chances in life are there as lessons. They're there to help build your character. They're there to help you. And then most importantly, they're there to teach you how to keep what you want when you get there.
Where do you see yourself musically in the next 5 years?
Musically, oh, that's still releasing albums. Um, Tours. I see that. I see me in a lot of sync opportunities, TV shows, sports shows, movies. I see me helping others to supersede what I be. I see myself in the studio with tons of artists, and like, yeah, I can get on your song, but like, for instance, right now, I do this in a small capacity, but it's actually growing. Every time an artist reached out to me to get on a song, I always ask them about paperwork. A lot of people get uncomfortable, but then they start to realize what I'm asking them is your paperwork correctly? So when this starts to move, you benefit. And I always see myself in that consultation capacity, helping others. So as the music grows, I can help more people. So yeah, I'm back to me helping people. But yeah, I see the shows, I see the tours, dropping albums on a regular. I just see what I'm doing right now, just on the bigger scale.
So, what are you doing daily to reach those goals of touring and selling more albums and making your brand bigger and more well known?
So on a daily basis, I put myself on a schedule. So the first thing I do in the morning is I feel creative. So I'm either producing or I'm writing, or I'm in a mix, in the middle of a mix, detailing where I want to go with this and how I want to evoke the emotion out of the music. I usually spend 4 or 5 hours doing that. Right after that, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, how am I posting? Why am I posting? Where am I posting? Do these posts transfer over the ads? And once they do, is it the proper audience? Is it reaching the proper people? And then I'm also sitting there planning, when am I doing email blasts? When am I doing text message blasts? And not only telling people, hey, I have music, also telling people this is what I did in the music. So I'm constantly marketing and promoting. It's become a second nature to me. And that's because to me, marketing and promotion is another form of creativity.
Does social media help your brand?
Yes. Yes, immensely. You're gonna have a lot of people, and they are absolutely correct. You're gonna have a lot of people say that it's toxic, it's taxing on you, it's stressful. Um, I use streaming as social media because we all know the streaming industry is very tough on musicians. They don't pay much. But I use streaming as social media to build on my social media because the concept to me of social streaming is introduced. It's introduced. So I what I do, everything I do goes to social media, and I try to be strategic again. Sometimes social media tends to wind off when certain people start liking, then it'll start taking away. But I try to always bring it back to the core. I always focus on my core audience. Social media is very important that I communicate with them. I send out the proper post and open it up to proper communication. From there, when it goes over to streaming, I treat it the same as in I want the music to be an introduction to my website. So I kind of treat social media and everything I do as a funnel to bring everything back to admonishmusic.com.
So, is that a good business plan? Is that a plan that you tell other artists, young artists, who see themselves as creatives? They don't see themselves as a brand. They don't see themselves. They're young. They're getting into it, but they want advice and they want to know how to get to the level you are.
Yeah.
Do you tell them to focus on social media? Or
I
keep
always
social media as, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep social media as a brand builder.
So what I tell them, what I don't do is I don't create templates because everyone's different. What I try to do first is pull information out of them. What do they want? And how do they expect to get there? Because how do you expect to get there tells me what they know and what they don't know. I always tell them, social media is one aspect of. It's not the end all, and it's not going to make you successful. It's going to be a part of a toolbox of tools that can lead to success. Yes, you have to be active. To be a successful artist these days, you have to be a content creator, whether you like it or not. But I always try to tell them do not deviate from why you're here. If you become an incredible content creator, are you a musician or a content creator? Because first things first, you have to create the product. And after the product, you have to figure out, what do you want? When people tell me I want to be a successful rapper, I want to be a successful singer, I always tell them, Jay-Z's not successful. Jay-Z Inc. is successful. So you have to, whether you like it or not, understand that you're a business. And now if you're doing it for fun and you just want to release music, and that's fine, because that's part of the what do you want and how do you expect to get there. But the ones that always tell me like, no, this is what I want to make my career, I always tell them social media, streaming, they're all important. There's not one or the other. You have to take all these variables that are part of the equation that you are, and you have to understand you're a brand, you're a business, you're a marketer, you're a content creator, and you're a musician. Would always hold that musician first.
Do younger artists that grew up in the social media age, did they push back against that advice?
Absolutely. All the time.
Even an artist that grew up, maybe even finding, their idols in music.
Yeah.
And they found them on social media, and they have followed this person or this band and seen what the band did.
Yeah.
And you give them the same advice, do that thing. They push back against that.
I'll tell you why they push back. And this is and it's something I did. So when and it's not everybody, this is not 100%, but there are a lot of artists that when they start, they already know it all. Oh, I saw what they did. And I'm like, okay, but if you saw that they were constant and they're consistent on social media and they were consistent on doing shows for free, and no, listen, if I feature on everybody's music, I don't have to do social media. I just feature on everybody's music and everybody will come to me. And I always say, where they're going. If you don't have a base for someone to come to, where are they going? So you have a lot that just, they know it all. Those guys, you got to just let them fly. Yeah, let your wings spread and you'll be back. But you can't fight someone who knows what they're doing. So sometimes you just gotta let them go. Because in the beginning, I knew what I was doing. I'm like, all I have to do is write rhymes, and they're like, and then what? Who's gonna hear them? And trust me, But me sitting there and then being intuitive on, well, that's marketing and that's branding, and me taking all of that in, I started to realize, no, I don't know that. Actually, I don't know nothing. And even as much as I know now, I go into conversations. Do you know about this stuff? No. I tell people no, because if someone tells me 10 points of success and I know 9 of them, I didn't know the 10th one. Everything that I know I don't know everything. So I always go into the conversation, I know I don't know how to do music. Talk to me. Because I want to learn what I didn't know. And I want to take that.
What are you passionate about besides music?
First and foremost, my family. I'm super passionate about my family. Like, and when I say that, it's not just like I love my family. It's I'm in my kids' lives. I'm in my wife's life. Like my wife and I were on this 30-year relationship, but I'm listening to her when she's talking about work. And my nephews and nieces, I'm listening to them when they're telling me their goals and their aspirations. And I'm very passionate in I call it putting my hands on their back. What that means is, like I tell my kids all the time, I got my hands around your back. So whenever you fall back, I'm there. And my goal is to push you forward. It's not to keep you next to me or behind me. I'm here to just push you guys forward. So I'm really passionate about my family. Outside of that, growth. And when I say growth, I mean growth in humanity, growth in people. I love seeing others succeed. I love being there to help people. And I don't even want the credit. I just want to see you do what you always wanted to do. So, you know, consulting is something I'm deeply passionate about, even before my wife told me, because I didn't realize I was the son until she told me. But I've always been the person like, listen, hey, you doing this? Yeah. You need some advice? I got it, but because my goal is I want to push you forward. Or you just want money? No, I want to help you I want to see you succeed. And that's something I'm hugely passionate about.
Have you written a song about that?
Wow, that's a great question. No, I haven't.
If you're that passionate about it, and it sounds like you are, there should be a song in there somewhere. Because I don't listen to hip hop on the regular.
Yeah.
But I don't hear a lot of music that has that as the subject matter.
That's a great statement, because what you got me doing right now, I keep looking all over the place because I'm actually running through songs. I'm already working on album 2, 3, and 4 at the time. I know it sounds chaotic saying I'm working on 2, 3, and 4. And I'm running through those songs because I'm like, did I write one of those yet? Because we can go into it later, but lip therapy is a certain concept. My next album, Transition, is a certain concept. You know what? No, I didn't have it on Transition. Build Your Legacy. I think I'm going to write one for Build Your Legacy. It just makes sense. But I actually have songs. I have a song called Exit Plan where it's about exiting a relationship that is hindering you from doing that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So like, exit plan, like, what's your exit plan? Like, when you got someone stopping you from being great, you need to exit that.
Well, I like the lyric in the song, and I'm gonna misquote you, but basically where you're saying if you're not here for the long run, why bother? If the,
Yeah.
it, and I'm sorry, I know you know the line, but the times I've listened to it, that one line is the one thing that has stuck out the most. And I'm sorry I misquoted the line, but
No,
I do enjoy the fact that you say, if you're not here, that's how I translated that line.
Yeah.
If you're not here for the long run, then leave now. Or I'm going to leave because this isn't worth my time. My time is more valuable in the long run than what's going on right here, right now. Because
Yes.
if you're not here to mean something, you mean nothing. So I'm going to move on. That's how I translated that line.
You actually translated it correctly because that's actually something that, like I tell people, how you got people who are talking about how toxic somebody is in their life, or I always tell people, listen, the worst thing that I could do to you is leave your life. Because my whole intention here is to uplift you. It's not even about me. And listen, I hope you find success, but it's not meant to be with me. And that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And that's an adult way of approaching that subject.
Yes.
But I think you and I, being not elderly, but older,
Yeah.
the young kids would call us elderly. We've lived life. We've been through heartache. We've been through bad times. So we learn how to deal with it. And young people, they don't see things the way we do. So you're passing on a little advice in the music that someone like me is going to pick up, but maybe someone who is young, it's just a line, it's just a rhyme. It was something to complete the chorus. They just kind of pass it off.
Yes.
But there's drops of gold in the music.
Yes.
And if you listen to the song, you sit there and listen to the song. Don't have it on while you're doing something else. Just listen to the song. You speak your truth and you speak their truth, but
Yeah.
they don't know it yet. So I think that song will live on because it does speak your truth, but it also speaks everyone else's truth.
Yeah.
If they hear it or not.
Yeah, and something you said is so key because you said they have to listen to it. There's a huge difference between hearing and listening. And there's a rapper named Nas. He got this incredible line, and I say it all the time to my clients when we get into conversations like this. And what he said was, "I'm gonna hand you a jewel that you could sell if you chose." A lot of people don't get it. So what the translation of that is, I'm gonna hand you a piece of advice. It's not my responsibility what you do with it. My responsibility was to give it to you. Whether you keep it or you give it away, it's not for me. It's for you. And that's exactly what I try to tell young guys. What I've learned to do is I listen to the young guys and I only take in what I feel is mine. Whatever's not mine, I let it go. And I've learned to do that from the other side. Listen, here. Oh man, you don't know what you're talking about. That's fine. My job in life was to give you the jewel, not to tell you what to do with.
So when you first started in hip hop,
Mhm.
was there someone there doing your job? What you're doing now for the next generation, was there someone there doing the same for you?
No. The only people who really done what I've done and they've done it for me are still in my youth. And what I mean by that, it's my wife and my two brothers. Actually my three brothers, Martin, Sue, and Dakar. And as far as me starting and meeting anyone externally, it's never been that. It's always been, I've always experienced, besides Jam Master Jay, because when I met Jam Master Jay, he started to do that. Listen, this isn't the right road, or this is what's going on in the industry. Relate the industry to life and maneuver. Because Jam Master Jay was from the street just like I was, so we had familiar communication. But I've every time I've sought out mentors, nobody wanted to mentor me. And it didn't bother me. Because I've always been the type of person that's like, yo, can you help me out? No. Okay. Oh, what does okay mean? I'll go figure out the information. And I'm going to give it away. You don't want to help me? That's fine. I'm not upset with you, but I will help you. I won't take, I don't feel any way about that. So, yeah, to be honest, I got 4 people that always, and I mean, whether I needed advice, whether, I needed them to slap me in the back of the head and say, come on, man, stop doubting yourself. Or I needed them to just come up to me and say, you're dope. Give it away. Those 4 people have always been in my corner regardless. And they're not yes men or women. I love them dearly because I'll sit there like, I got the song. And I'll play it and they'll be like, that's not the song. Oh no, but no, it's not. That's in the traps.
Does it make you a better writer, producer, singer, artist doing things the hard way? Not having someone to ask advice. You know the industry and you're having to go out there and make your own way. does it make you a better overall person in music? Because you've learned things the hard way, and you have that, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to figure it out on my own. You kind of have that gritty attitude towards music. Does that make you a better artist?
I could say yes, only from my perspective, because you have to have a certain attitude toward everything in that process. If you have the attitude of, oh, you don't want to help me, then you know what, the hell with you, and I'm gonna do this to you. If you have that bitter, you won't allow the lessons to sit. You won't allow the experience to do what it's supposed to do. So it really depends on the individual, but it's definitely made me, how should I say? It's definitely made me more empathetic. It's definitely made me sit there and be like, listen, man, I don't want to be grandpa and I don't want to be dad, but that road is definitely not the right one. From experience. But yes, it's really made me humble. It's made me empathetic, and it's made me very grateful, and it's made me very giving. Because that experience that I've experienced all these years through music, it teaches you character. Yeah, and integrity.
What sacrifices have you made for your music?
Wow, great thoughts. Wow. Wow. But it's one of the points I tell artists all the time. Whether you like it or not, you have to sacrifice something. Now, what has become taboo in the music industry is people think when they hear sacrifice, you hear of certain situations that happen to other artists. They think about losing everything. I have to sacrifice my ownership and all of that. Yes, I've sacrificed a lot. What I did though is I sat down at one point in my career and said, there's no way I can become successful without sacrificing. But I sat down and realized I'm still in control of what I sacrifice. Some people want to sacrifice families, and they'll sit there and be like, you know what? I'm not going to get married, or I'll get married, but I'll be in the studio when I'm tour and I'll never see my spouse. What I did was I sacrificed the street. And I said, it makes no sense being out here getting in trouble or doing any of that. That's counterproductive to my goals. What I did is I sacrificed the clubs and the lounge. If I'm sitting in a club or a lounge to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe drinking or hanging out or just listening to music, basically, how was that productive toward my goals? Watching TV 24/7. If I'm going to do that, it's not productive to my... So what I did is I sat down and said, I want to reach a certain goal. And now I know what I want to sacrifice. Anything that was a distraction was sacrifice. I don't need to watch... I grew up an athlete. Baseball, basketball, football. I played all three, all the way up to senior year varsity high school. Even actually, I played semi-pro baseball after high school. So I love watching MLB, NBA. I love watching it all. I haven't watched any of that in the last 7, 8 years. Because like I said, if I'm sitting there on a Sunday watching 4 football games, I could have made X amount of beats. I could have made X amount of songs. I could have spent so much time sending out emails. And so I sacrificed all of that to do what I do. And what I chose not to sacrifice was my family. What I chose not to sacrifice was my integrity. What I chose not to sacrifice is who I am as an artist and as a person. So yes, you absolutely have to sacrifice. Well, you could choose what you want to sacrifice.
Do you tell young artists the same thing you told me? Do you tell
Absolutely.
them? Do you think they actually hear that and listen to you? Excuse me. Do you think they listen to you, or do you think they hear you when you give them that advice?
I would say 80% of them hear me. 20% of them will sit there. 10% of them will sit there and like, okay, how do I do that? The other 10 will take it in and they will activate it when they understand. But 80% of them are like, talking about you're not my life, and you don't know what I've been through, and I speak intellectually. I carry myself intellectually and professionally. I'm from the South Bronx. I was born in the South Bronx, and I was raised in the Bronx, and I was raised in the county right across the river called Hudson County. I grew up in really, really rough neighborhoods. So a lot of these kids, when they hear me, they don't realize that I grew up where they grew up. Because they're like, oh, that's not how I know. We can read books. Like, stop thinking just because you're in the city, you should be deprived of books. And I read. So when I sit there with them and they tell me you don't know what I've been through, and then my attitude changes and my vernacular changes, they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah. So I can really so I tell you what, when I say, this is something that you need to be, reaching for. And they're like, where from where I'm from? I'm like, word? And I say word, they're like, oh, yeah. I'm from where you from. I'm just trying to show you I left. So you cannot take my advice and then come back in 15 years and say what happened. Or you can take it in some manner and then use it. But yeah, a lot of them, they know it all. God bless them. I hope the experiences they go through trigger some of the things that I've told them. But and it's not even when I say young, I'm not even talking about this generation. The people I grew up with when we were young were doing the same thing. So it's not even this generation. It's some young people think they know it all. That's fine. So you can listen or you can hear.
So having your background,
yes,
relating to these young artists, do you ever see the light bulb above their head just light up when you kind of step back and say, like you just said, you speak to them the way that they're spoke to on the streets, and you give them examples of what you went through, and all of a sudden they kind of light up saying, oh, this guy, he knows, so maybe I should listen to him and stop walking in here like, oh, I know everything. No, you don't. Is it easier to approach those artists and to quell their fears and to work with them and push them forward with your hands on their back? Is it easier for you to do that when they know you came from where they're coming from?
Yeah. A lot of them put their guards down. That's when they's like, okay, so you've experienced what I've experienced, or some of them aren't from some of them pretend to be from where we grew up. They'll listen more. But a lot of the young artists that I've worked with, and I'll come in, and when they finally realize, you do this, and this, what it turns into, I'll give you a perfect example. I could be producing a session with an artist, and they're really combative. So I'm in there like, yo, do it again. Oh, that's my do it again. And the rhyming, do it again. They're like, what's your problem? And then I'll sit there and be like, I don't believe you. I had an artist, actually, a young female. I was working with a group from Harlem. And I had a young female who sang backup for a huge successful R&B artist. So she came in through the studio with her mother. And so she came in, I played the beat, I played the song. They already laid the verses down. We needed her for the hook. So I played the song where we had it. And I had one of the rappers sing the hook because he wrote it. And I was like, I sing horrible. I'm not asking you to be Marvin Gaye. Just asking you to put the words into place. She heard it once. I got it. No problem. Went in the booth. She sang it. No, she did. Yeah, she sang it. Right. And I say that, I emphasize sang for a reason. And I'm going to tell you what. So she sang it. And I was like, do it again. She sang it again. I was like, do it again. I was like, listen, the song is emotion. I don't need you to sing the hook. I need you to sing that hook. I need you to put all your soul into the hook. So she thought I meant get louder. Everything she sang was on point. Everything was on point. So I look at her mother and I said, what's the worst time in her life? And she couldn't hear me. I was like, what's the turn? I had the talk back walk. And I was like, what's the worst? She goes, her grandmother passed away. I was like, all right, turn the lights off. I was like, yo, I want to give my condolences for your grandma passing away. She started getting emotional. I heard her voice crack. And I was like, she goes, can you turn the lights on? I was like, no, I'm not turning the lights on. I go, we could do one of two things. You could sing to your grandmother, or you can go home. And she sang. And her voice cracked in the middle of the hook. And the guys were like, oh man, that was almost perfect. I was like, no, that was perfect. Because anybody listening to this will cry when they hear her. That was the intent of the song. So as much as she knew, she didn't know. And it took me to do something familiar. I was like, yo, man, I lost my pop. And I get it. I lost my cousins. I lost my aunt. I lost my uncle. She was like, oh, I was like, and they all meant something to me. I was like, I need you to sing like you're singing to grandma. And so when you can do something to relate, and that was a perfect example of sometimes I got to break down the artist to realize, yo, man, you really ain't that tough, because I'm really not that tough. Nobody's that tough. Somebody's tougher, or something is tougher.
Right.
Can we just get here and do what we came to do, please, correctly?
Have you ever considered giving up music?
Yeah, a few times.
Really?
Yes. So the easy answer is,
All right, y'all. That is the end of part 1 of this great conversation right here with Admonish, exclusively right here on Two Beers with the Band podcast. My name is Harkos. I just edit everything around here, but I wanted to come in here and let you know it's the end of part 1, and to make sure you hit that like, share, follow, and subscribe, especially if you enjoyed this conversation. And if you made it all the way to the end, you had to have enjoyed the conversation, right? Well, part 2 is going to come out in just 2 days after this one posts. So make sure you hit that subscribe and you hit that notification buzzer so you get notified when part 2 drops. And depending on when you're watching this, part 2 might already be out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head on over to part 2. See you there.
But for now, I'ma let it go and exit to the right. Sometimes you gotta